Hello and welcome to everyone out there in the Actual Tech Media audience. Thanks so much for joining us on the webinar today. The topic is how to fight ransomware attacks and build cyber resilience. We've got a great educational session coming up for you today on the webinar. Before we get started, I want to give a special thanks to our friends out there at NetApp for supporting the event today. You should know my name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm glad to be serving as the moderator. As always, we want these events to be educational, and we encourage your questions here. We know that ransomware and cybersecurity, it's a hot topic in the world today. Companies are receiving threats and attacks every single day, and you need to be doing whatever you can do to protect yourself and ensure that you can recover your data. And that's the topic, of course, of the event. We encourage your questions there in the questions tab of the audience console. The experts from NetApp are standing by to answer your questions live. So keep those questions coming during the presentation. We also have a best question prize to help maybe further encourage some of those questions. I'll talk about that here in just a moment. I also want to call your attention to the resources there in the handouts tab. We've got some great resources on today's topic, hand selected by today's expert presenter. And then finally, at the end of the webinar, I'll be announcing the winner of our Amazon $300 gift card. If you're watching this on demand, of course, the drawing has already occurred. The prize terms and conditions can be found right there in your handouts tab. And then, as I mentioned, we also have our best question prize. This is for an additional $50 gift card, another Amazon gift card. That means you have to ask a question to be entered into the prize drawing. We'll be selecting the best question prize winner after the event and contacting the prize winner then. All participants must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. All right, so with that information out of the way, it's now time to welcome today's expert presenter. Welcome to Jason Blazel, Principal Marketing Strategist for Cyber Resilience at NetApp. Jason, it's great to have you on the event. I'll hand it off to you. Take it away.
Thanks, David. It's not a matter of if, but when a threat is going to put your organization at risk. In a recent global survey of more than 2,600 executives, the Allianz Risk Barometer 2022 study showed that cyber threats were identified as the top business risk of 2022. This is ahead of pandemics, supply chain issues, and labor shortage concerns. The biggest cyber threats businesses and other organizations are watching include ransomware attacks, data breaches, remote work-related security vulnerabilities, and cloud technology platform failures. Ransomware is one of the most devastating cyber attacks an organization can face, with an average cost of nearly $2 million per incident. Effectively protecting and securing data is key for organizations of all sizes to avoid being the next big story in the news as a victim of ransomware. Many organizations turn to cyber insurance to help reduce the risk of significant damage, but many don't qualify, and for others, the cost of insurance continues to increase. The average cost of a ransomware attack doubled in 2021 to an estimated $1.4 million, and in some other studies, it's closer to $4 million. And with traditional security tools, downtime and recovery costs can be 10 times the average ransom payment. The cost of downtime creates a greater temptation to pay the ransom in hopes of getting your data back, but paying the ransom is no guarantee that you'll get your data back. Sophos reports that about 92% of companies and organizations that pay don't get their data. And the U.S. Department of Treasury has issued advisories that paying ransoms may be illegal in some instances. Ransomware attacks are different than traditional threats to IT. Traditionally, data protection and data security would often be addressed independent of each other. But ransomware requires more than simply securing the perimeter. It requires a new approach that includes both protection and security. High availability and efficient data recovery are integrated with threat detection and remediation to increase effectiveness of not only preventing threats, whether man-made or natural disasters, but also accelerating recovery to avoid the high cost of downtime. NetApp calls this combination of data protection and data security cyber resilience. NetApp builds protection and security solutions around an organization's data. We take a data-centric approach based on the principles of zero trust, which suggest an inside-out design to data protection and security. NetApp is in a strong position to enhance protection and security solutions because the data you care about is stored on our storage. We can manage data copies, data access, and threat detection where the data is located. Criminals know the value of your data. Deletion, encryption, and exfiltration, or the stealing of data, are techniques used to disable the organization and to extort money. We've seen an important shift in IT strategy to the architectural principles of zero trust. Historically, IT teams treated user accounts as trustworthy. If you had valid credentials, then you were considered safe. This approach is no longer valid. A zero trust approach assumes that no user account is trustworthy and must be verified at each surface or microperimeter of the IT stack in order to properly detect threats and minimize damage. The closer the protection and security is to the data, the less likely a threat will be successful. NetApp cyber resilience capabilities can be mapped to the NIST cybersecurity framework, which includes identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. NetApp offers solutions to protect your data from internal and external threats, to support real-time detection of intruders, and deliver rapid response and recovery to minimize downtime. For our marketing purposes, we simplify the framework to protect, detect, and recover. It's a little easier to understand that way, but each of the requirements are covered. Now, NetApp is investing heavily in technologies using the principles of zero trust to better safeguard data, and our solutions are built on a foundation of ONTAP to protect against cyber threats and traditional threats like component failure, accidental data loss, and natural disasters. ONTAP forms the foundation of our data plane with intelligent data management, high efficiency, and integrated data protection to simplify and optimize how your data is stored, moved, and protected. In the cloud, each of the major providers includes a fully managed enterprise storage service delivered as a first-party offering built on NetApp ONTAP. NetApp also offers a user-managed virtual appliance at each of the marketplaces, providing flexibility for application deployment and data retention. We're also expanding the capabilities of our portfolio of cloud services via a centralized control plane called BlueXP that integrates with ONTAP and other storage solutions to increase data security and availability and improve visibility and management of data on-premises or in the public cloud. These services include storage management, intelligence around system health and security gaps, integrated protection, data governance and compliance, user account and infrastructure insights, as well as a variety of data mobility and optimization features. Cyber resilience is focused on the protection and security of your data, and NetApp offers unique value in the areas of business continuity, backup and recovery, ransomware protection, and data governance and compliance. Many of the NetApp technologies satisfy requirements across each of these solutions, but for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to focus on ransomware protection. Let's start off by demonstrating a typical ransomware scenario. In this scenario, we have a user who's working happily on their PC. They've stored all their important work files on their computer. On the criminal side, we have a hacker who's intent on extorting money from this happy user. How the hacker does this is by using malware. The hacker's intention is to get the malware installed on the user's PC or endpoint device covertly, so the user is totally unaware. The hacker can do this by various means, such as sending the user an email with an infected attachment, such as a PDF or a Word document, or an executable. Also, other techniques that the hacker can use include sending a phishing mail to the user in order to get the user to click on links that will install malicious software. The objective here remains getting a piece of malicious software to execute on the user's machine. Once the software has been installed, a trigger event will occur and all the user's data will then be encrypted. This means that the user will no longer be able to access his files. Typically, at this point, the user is presented with a message on screen demanding a ransom, giving them instructions on how to pay the ransom and what steps to take in order to get the data back. The files are encrypted with strong encryption, and typically this encryption is used to prevent criminals accessing files. But in the ransomware scenario, the tables are turned and the encryption is used in order to carry out a crime. The only way to get the files back is to get the decryption key. And of course, in this scenario, the only way to get the decryption key is for the user to pay the ransom. So the criminal pays the ransom on the hope that the criminal will provide the decryption key. A large portion of criminals do provide the decryption key because they want to promote the practice of paying the ransom. However, you're dealing with criminals here, and there's no cast iron guarantee that paying the ransom will give you the decryption key. When the ransom is paid, the hacker arranges for the decryption key to be provided to the user. This key is then used to decrypt the files, restoring them to their previous state, making the user a happy user again, albeit with some financial loss. This is the 30,000-foot view of how ransomware works. It's become a multi-million-dollar criminal activity and is prevalent in all corners of the world. As I mentioned, ransomware attacks involve the distribution of malware to disable the user's account to data, or user's access to data. However, as an industry, we tend to include other cyber threats in the same bucket of ransomware. Things like insider threats and data manipulation are also discussed in the context of ransomware. Data manipulation is often tactics of cyber criminals, whether inside or outside the organization. But I've included this topic as a separate one for today. The majority of solutions available in the market are point solutions focused on perimeter security, backup and recovery, and anomaly detection. Few, if any, offer protection against ransomware and other cyber threats on production storage. NetApp views ransomware as a multifaceted threat and offers a multi-layered, integrated approach to address cyber threats like ransomware. So malware needs a client or server to execute and therefore cause damage. And NetApp doesn't offer client-level solutions. We focus instead on shared storage solutions, whether on-premises or in the cloud. And we can protect data stored on ONTAP-based storage in a variety of ways. We can block known malicious files from being written to disk. ONTAP includes a database of about 3,000 known malicious file extensions that can be edited by the user. And with this database, ONTAP can actually block the storage of any of those files to the disk, preventing any malware attack that is known. Additionally, ONTAP offers integration with leading antivirus software vendors to improve virus scanning and prevent the spread of malware. Finally, ONTAP includes a highly intelligent machine learning-based ransomware detection engine that monitors the file system for anomalies that might indicate threats, such as slow-moving encryption, that might go undetected by other tools. Each of these features are built into ONTAP and are designed to block and detect threats delivered through software. NetApp also offers features built into our storage to protect against insider threats, as well as integrated cloud services to help with detection and prevention of bad actors. Access is controlled via a number of technologies, such as multi-factor authentication, role-based access, as well as in-flight and at-rest data encryption. Rogue administrators are a growing concern for some organizations, and NetApp helps protect against a single administrator account from being used to cause damage with a feature called multi-administrator verification. This feature requires more than one admin account to approve key tasks, such as account creation, volume deletion, snapshot deletion, and more. And NetApp Blue XP combined with ONTAP can detect user behavior anomalies in real time. Upon detecting anomalies in real time, the observability capability can then trigger the creation of a snapshot recovery point, as well as block any future storage access by that user account. Now, cybercriminals typically target an organization's data, whether by deleting it, encrypting it, or stealing it. This is called data exfiltration. There are several techniques used to prevent the organization from recovering data and getting back online with any speed, thus creating the desire to pay the ransom. NetApp ONTAP has intelligent native features designed to prevent data manipulation, such as data deletion or data encryption. These include SnapLock, which is a feature of ONTAP, which provides worm file locking. It uses powerful data retention technology to prevent the deletion of backup data. Not even NetApp tech support can delete data during the retention period once locked by SnapLock. ONTAP 9.12.1 includes a new feature that we announced last month that leverages some of the SnapLock technology for both local and remote snapshot copies. These tamper-proof snapshots are ideal for protecting against ransomware attacks, especially zero-day attacks, by enabling the locking of snapshots of your choice as recovery points. These snapshots are both immutable and indelible. Multi-factor authentication was introduced in ONTAP 9.11.1, which was last spring, and provides an important mechanism to prevent a single admin account from causing damage. I've mentioned this before. More than one admin is required to approve key tasks, such as snapshot deletion, volume deletion, and even admin account creation. ONTAP also helps to speed recovery. Our block-based incremental forever data backup and replication can restore terabytes of data, almost petabytes of data in seconds. It's extremely fast, efficient, and secure. Their features are managed through the BlueXP control plane for storage that's both on-premises or in the cloud. And finally, recovery can be accelerated with intelligent forensics, which allows you to identify the most important data to restore first. It also helps to understand who touched the data and what was done with it. System logs can be exported to your favorite SIEM tools as well for further analytics. Now, I've talked a lot about capabilities of the NetApp solutions. One area I didn't discuss much was the identify function of the NetApp portfolio. Data discovery and classification isn't really a requirement for ransomware protection, but it is an important step in governing and protecting your data. Understanding what data is important and how it is accessed can be valuable to better manage and preserve the data that your organization relies on. With BlueXP classification, this is a capability of the BlueXP control plane. You can discover potential data risks, automate data governance tasks to identify cost-saving opportunities, assist with data migration projects, empower data privacy and compliance teams, and give them the ability to generate data protection impact analysis reports. You can protect your organization from compliance risk by ensuring sensitive data is stored where you want it as you integrate data governance with compliance protection. BlueXP classification gives enterprise-wide real-time insight into how much data you have, where it lives, what the activity levels are on that data, which of the data sets contain sensitive information, and what permissions are allowed on the data. With that insight, BlueXP classification users can make better decisions on where they want their data stored, tiered, archived. They can do a better job of defining and implementing retention and governance policies. They can move quickly and easily to protect the organization from risk of loss and compliance breach. BlueXP classification sets a new standard for executing your organization's data governance and privacy programs, powered by built-in AI data privacy controls. BlueXP classification is also a foundational technology for a ransomware protection dashboard that's built into BlueXP, which consolidates much of the information that we've talked about today, including backup, health checks, and privacy, to make sure that you have a good view about how your data is being protected against ransomware threats. I just want to share a couple examples briefly. So NetApp helps our customers succeed by providing the right solutions to protect and secure their critical data. Now, most organizations don't want to talk about ransomware threats, and so I don't have any of those here. But I do want to emphasize NetApp's capabilities to protect and secure data through these examples. Kantonsspital Winterthur is one of the largest hospitals in Switzerland. It delivers primary clinical care in the greater Winterthur area and has developed into a super regional center hospital. With NetApp, KSW has set up an infrastructure that blends performance with security and paves the way for a data fabric with a direct link to the cloud. Another example, Schweiz AG is responsible for creating the gold standard for vaccine administration. They're a glass company. Borosilicate glass type 1, the Schott global supply chain generates huge volumes of data, and NetApp helps them make that data available to optimize pharmaceutical packaging for a healthier world. These are just a couple of the many customers that rely on NetApp for protection and security of their data. Now, NetApp has a history of protecting and securing data. We take security and protection very seriously. Data security is priority design criteria of our engineering and part of our DNA. As evidence of our commitment, we have been certified with the strictest security standards. In fact, we're the first and only enterprise storage vendor to be validated for top security data. We're the only enterprise storage vendor validated for NSA's commercial solutions for classified component list, which is no small feat. Our flagship storage software, ONTAP, which qualifies for each of these certifications, is the software that powers our cloud storage offerings, such as Cloud Volumes ONTAP, available on the 3 largest clouds, as well as our OEM offerings like FSx for NetApp ONTAP, available on AWS, and Azure NetApp Files, available on Azure. As more and more organizations leverage the cloud and build hybrid cloud infrastructure, security becomes a much greater concern, and NetApp is here to help. Now, in closing, if you'd like to learn more about NetApp cyber resilience solutions, including our ransomware protection, please go to netapp.com/cyber-resilience. And if you want to learn about how a fictitious company battled through a ransomware attack and then re-architected for success. Check out this NetApp parody, the IT Office on netapp.tv. It's a lot of fun as well as very instructive. So thank you for your time and have a safe and secure day.
All right, great presentation, Jason. I really enjoyed that. I learned a lot about NetApp's, many ways to help prevent and recover from ransomware. And we've got some great questions coming in here from the audience. I'm just going to go ahead and start with this one. They want to know, what is NetApp's long-term vision when it comes to ransomware solutions?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, I can't go into any roadmap discussions; those are futures. But what is important to recognize is that the largest cost of downtime from a ransomware attack, as defined or observed by many analysts, is the downtime. So the longer it takes for an organization to recover from a ransomware attack, the more that the cost of that ransomware event increases. And so NetApp continues to invest heavily, not only in the rapid recovery from a ransomware attack, but in the early detection and the prevention of the production storage and production environment, so that that downtime is either avoided or minimized through rapid recovery. Most of the solutions out in the market, as I mentioned, are point solutions. They tend to be more on the recovery side. NetApp has invested heavily into the prevention, which really helps to minimize the attack from happening in the beginning.
Absolutely, yeah. So much time and effort and money could be saved, and reputational damage by just simply preventing that attack at the
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
Um, Here's another good one. They're asking, how does Blue XP solve for customers' issues related to a ransomware attack?
Yeah, so Blue XP was announced last month at our Insight event, and it is a new control plane for us, a centralized control plane. We've taken many of our management tools and capabilities, we've integrated them into a single source. It's a SaaS-based product. It is available as well for on-prem kind of dark site as needed, but the most efficient and effective delivery mechanism is through the SaaS model. And it includes a lot of data services that are designed to layer on top of the innate and native capabilities of ONTAP to help protect and detect, as well as recover in the event of a cyber attack such as ransomware. So it's very, very effective and provides a lot of intelligence into the data you have, how to protect it, and how to improve the security posture of your data.
Nice. And one of the cool things you talked about in Blue XP was the ransomware dashboard. That's
Mhm.
something I haven't seen in other solutions.
Yeah, and I probably should have included that in my slide deck, but it's currently in beta, and the intent with that and the direction where it's heading is to not only provide visibility into status of your data, but also to provide remediation steps and even auto fixing based upon the health checks, any type of security gaps you may have, and recovery of your data in the event of a ransomware attack.
Nice. That's exciting. All right. Here's another good one. They want to know specifically what NetApp products protect against ransomware.
So I mentioned a variety of them. If we think about the protection side, we're really looking at the technologies that are designed to prevent the attack. So it'd be things such as the file blocking. This is a feature called F-policy that's been a long-time feature of ONTAP. It'll actually block known malicious files. We have the ability to detect threats, either user behavior threats or file system anomalies. We also integrate with virus scan software. We offer immutable and indelible snapshot copies. So there's a variety of these technologies that are built in because we look at ransomware as really a multifaceted threat. There is no one solution out there that can solve all the problems because the attack vectors are so different. And so we have a variety of different features within ONTAP that work together to block and prevent many of the threats that are plaguing organizations.
Yeah, and that's smart to offer those sort of integrations because, like you said, it's no one solution can solve this kind of multifaceted, complex ransomware problem that we're all dealing with. Let's see. I like this question here. They're asking, how can I build protection directly within or around my data so that it can self-protect in the time that it takes to identify and address a threat? I like that self-protect. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the self protection really is going to be coming from greater use of AI and ML. And so NetApp is really kind of in the pioneering a lot of these technologies. I mentioned one of them. It's a feature in ONTAP called autonomous ransomware protection, and it uses machine learning to identify small changes in file system. We call this data entropy. And the purpose for this is that it may be lots of accounts that are slowly encrypting data, or it could be slow encrypting data from a single account. But the intent is to learn of how the file system normally operates, and then to identify anomalies within that file system behavior. We then automatically trigger a snapshot copy as a recovery point if we identify that as a threat. We add on top of that AI-based technologies that use artificial intelligence to observe user behavior. So if Sally normally accesses a certain number of files or directories for a period of time, Monday through Friday, and then suddenly on a Saturday, there's behavior that she normally doesn't access. So maybe she's accessing engineering files or finance files. We would flag that as an anomaly and then block that user from accessing the storage, and even take another snapshot in order to prevent any further damage that might be caused from either a compromised user account or a disgruntled employee.
And that's awesome. I know, a lot of these ransomware attacks are automated attacks. And so, why not let the AI and ML fight the automated ransomware attacks? It's like letting the robots fight the robots kind of thing,
Right.
so that the humans don't have to do it. Let's see, another good question. How can I investigate the source of a threat so I have all the information to prevent future similar attempts? Can NetApp help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned this classification feature within NetApp Blue XP. This feature is based on the technology of a product that we have called Cloud Data Sense. So that capability is now integrated fully into Blue XP. What it does is it can scan almost any file system and any object store, whether it's in the cloud or on premises, and it'll look through that data to identify personal identifiable information, sensitive information, stale data, copies of data, to help to optimize that environment. But part of that is that it knows what files have been touched and who's accessed them, what the permissions are. And that combined with the observability capability of NetApp Blue XP, which can look at the infrastructure as well as do file level forensics, so that we can identify what files have been touched, what they've been changed, and what the actions were, in order to better improve the recovery and also to try to identify the source of the problem.
Smart. I like it. And I think you touched on this question already, and probably answered it perhaps, but it's very common in ransomware attacks that the backup data somehow ends up getting encrypted as well. And so this person is wanting to know, what can NetApp do to make sure that attackers don't encrypt my backup data?
Yeah, there's two things can happen. If the data isn't encrypted, then the data is deleted. I mean, the hacker wants to prevent a user from being able to recover their data, and so that's the more typical scenario, is the deletion of the backup before they encrypt the primary data. And so NetApp, I mentioned within the presentation, SnapLock is one of those features. So SnapLock is a very, very strict and very, very secure way of applying worm file level retention. It has a separate compliance clock that is independent of the system clock. And so even if you were to try to wipe the system and reboot the system to try to delete the data, you couldn't, because this clock operates independently from the system clock. And so there's no way to change or delete the data when using SnapLock, even by NetApp tech support. The only way that you could actually destroy the data would be to take the drives out and smash them. And if you have that problem, then you have other issues to worry about rather than a cyber attack.
That's right. That's right. Very cool. I like that. Prevent the data from being, or the backup data from being deleted,
Yeah.
is critical. Another good one, how can NetApp detect anomalies in the data? I know you mentioned that in your presentation.
Yeah, that's really the autonomous ransomware protection. We don't look into the data so much as to see what anomalies have taken. We can see whether the files have been encrypted, and we can see what actions have been taken on them. The autonomous ransomware protection that I talked about earlier really looks at that file system built on ONTAP to see what changes are happening that might be indicative of anomalous behavior. and might indicate encryption or other types of malicious acts.
Yeah, because that's a great question. When it comes to restoring your data, you need to know at what point was the data, perhaps manipulated or
Hmm.
um, modified. So you need to know where to go back to, and it sounds like that could really help out.
Yep.
Um, what about the Blue XP control plane? They're wanting to know, where does that run? Is this a SaaS solution?
Yeah, BlueXP runs as a SaaS solution. It's allows us to rapidly iterate and update and provide new value into the control plane. But there are areas or organizations that would prefer to have either a dark site, such as in certain government environments, or maybe to run on premises within their data center. And BlueXP can be made available for those types of applications.
Yeah, I think that's smart to have it as a SaaS, especially with data being spread out today across so many different, multiple clouds,
Mhm.
perhaps multiple on-premises data centers.
Yeah, it allows
Um,
us to look across clouds, as you mentioned, as well as on-prem data centers. And as we look towards hybrid multi-cloud as the more predominant architecture for most organizations' IT environments, BlueXP will be able to satisfy those requirements in a very, very effective way.
Very nice. And then this is one of those like $1 million questions. I know it's always hard to answer, but they're wanting to know, how fast can features like Snap Restore and Snap Mirror Restore get my data back?
Yeah, so NetApp invented the snapshot, gosh, I don't know, 25 years ago. And that's been the foundation for a lot of our advancements in data management, including data protection. And so we create a space efficient snapshot. It's we don't move any data to create the copy. The copy is created in place. We just create another set of pointers to the same shared data. We use that same technology in replicating data from one storage system to another, whether that be to object storage or to another ONTAP device. And that's based upon the SnapMirror technology. The great thing about SnapMirror is that it's able to retain all of the storage efficiencies of the primary storage when moving data to the secondary copy. And then we move only the changed blocks that from one site to another rather than the full file. So you can imagine using streaming backup or streaming technologies that even if one byte of that file has changed, the whole file is copied because there's no understanding of the underlying bits of the file. They just know the file in the file system. But ONTAP knows all the bits that have changed, and so it only moves the changed blocks that are also data reduced, and they do this in a secure fashion. That same technology is used to restore the data as well. So we restore only those blocks of data that are applicable for the files that have changed. And so we actually move a lot less data when both protecting as well as restoring. And in the case of Snap Restore, that would be used for a local snapshot. So there's no data movement at all. We just mount the snapshot as opposed to mounting the current production volume. So whether you're moving data from a remote secondary system or locally, we're still very, very fast and efficient.
Yeah, and that's so intelligent because, I mean, I've seen ransomware attacks. I think it was the city of Atlanta where they had their data, but they just couldn't get it all back because it was going to take weeks and weeks to restore this such a massive amount of data. They had to restore it all. So it sounds like Snap Restore, Snap Mirror Restore could really help in scenarios like that, get that data back so
Yeah.
fast. Um, and then what about Blue XP classification? They're wanting to know, could this help our company to reduce our data storage costs?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting use case. So the Blue XP classification does have the ability to see whether there's duplicate data or stale data, right? Data that hasn't been accessed for a long period of time, or data where there's multiple copies. And so that is a way to help to identify opportunities to reduce the amount of data that's being stored. In fact, a Florida a university, they didn't want to be named, but we have a public reference with them. And they were able to save about 50% of their storage costs because they were finding duplicate data all over their different repositories. And so using BlueXP classification, they were able to identify that and then go and clean up all that stuff for better data governance.
Wow, that's an impressive stat, 50%.
Yeah.
Really cool. Sounds like a great opportunity, a great use case for Blue XP classification, and I mean, among the many different use cases. So, uh, Jason, I'm afraid we're starting to run out of time here in our Q&A session in our webinar slot. I've learned so much. I know the audience has learned so much today about how NetApp can help to prevent and recover from ransomware. For everyone out there who didn't get answers to your questions, we'll do our best to respond to those folks electronically. But Jason, it's been great having you on the event today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, David. Appreciate it.
And for more information on NetApp, I encourage everyone to visit netapp.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. And before you go, you might be wanting to know who the winner was of today's Amazon $300 gift card. This one is going out to Nancy May from Vermont. Congratulations, Nancy May from Vermont. We'll also be reaching out to our best question prize winner after the event. Thanks to everyone who joined us on the webinar. We'll see you on the next event. Take care, stay safe, and have a great day. Bye-bye.